What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Solvice. Thank you for joining me once again. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're taking a look at the latest collaboration between Nike and Stussy with the Air Spiridon Kukini in the bright cactus colorway. Now, if you've already spent any time around the channel before, you know how things are gonna go. I'm gonna give you an in-depth review on these. I'm gonna let you know exactly what I think about them, and I'm gonna give you all the details I think you need to know. That way you can make an educated decision on whether or not you wanna cop these for yourself. Now, the other thing we typically do is 4K on-feet footage, but unfortunately today, no on-feet footage. Two main reasons for that. The first one is I'm not keeping these. The second one is Stussy doesn't take returns. So I've got to sell these. Now, if you're new here, just know I typically give you guys the best 4K on-feet footage you're gonna find of any sneaker you're looking at on YouTube, but today things are a little bit different. Now, as to why I'm not keeping these, you're gonna have to stick around for the review and find out why. I don't hate them. I don't think they're a terrible shoe. There's just a couple things that are just gonna end up making me sell these in the end. So stick around for that. And by the way, if you are new here, the first thing I wanna do is say welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate you giving the channel a shot. If you do like this video by the end, you think I've given you good info, please do me a huge favor, drop the video a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm on my way to 1,250 subscribers. And make sure to hit that notification bell. That way you're notified when I post videos just like this one. Now, if you're looking for anything specific on these, like the sizing or the materials used or something along those lines, you can always check in the description on all my videos. I'm gonna have every individual piece of the review timestamped out. That way you can get in, get what you're looking for, and get out. But if you're like me, you like to kick back, relax with a drink and a snack, you can always do that as well. All right, so what we have here is one of 4 Nike and Stussy collaborations with the Air Spiridon that we've had over the last few months. A couple months ago, we had the first 2 pairs drop. You had that tan pair and the black pair. That tan pair is probably my favorite out of all 4 of them, but unfortunately those escaped me. But I do have these. So this is one of the 2 most recent ones. And there is a difference between the most 2 recent and the first 2 that we had. The first 2 that we had were kind of like your traditional Air Spiridon, just kind of they switched up the materials a little bit. But these 2 are actually a mashup between the Air Spiridon and the Air Kukini. And that's actually where we get these rubber kind of like netting pieces here. That's from the Air Kukini. And I couldn't find a whole lot of info about those online. It seems like it's been a very long time since we've seen that. But it is cool that they're kind of like bringing it back with this pair here. And one thing I am curious about is if we're gonna see more Air Kukinis drop in the near future. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of times what Nike will do if they're planning on bringing back an old model that's been dead for a long time is they'll do a collaboration with a brand in streetwear or fashion or somebody that's gonna kind of add hype to that model. That way that shoe's not dead on arrival when they end up dropping it. Now, for this release, I actually do think that the packaging is worth talking about. It's probably one of my favorite parts about the release. I always like when they can make the packaging stand out. So you've got your traditional kind of clamshell style box here, but instead of the traditional colors that they usually go with, they've gone with this really cool cream or off-white with the infrared hits. So you've got your big giant Nike logo up on the top of the box as always, but then on each side, you've got a Stussy logo on the longer sides of the box. And then something I actually just noticed is you've got all your logos that you always have on the bottom of the box, but a bunch of them are actually written in the Stussy font. So a lot of things that I think they kind of like went out of their way to make it a little bit more special, and I do appreciate that. And then on the inside of the box, the wrapping paper that you have here, there's actually a tie-in later on the shoe. I'll kind of go over it, but this paper here, it's got some sort of a pattern on it. It looks almost like, I don't know, like grass or maybe like a palm tree or something like that. But it's, at first I thought it was just like one solid color, but you've definitely got some sort of a pattern here on this one side of the paper. And while I've got the box here, we might as well go over the size tag. So the size tag on these reads Air Zoom Spiridon KK or Kukini, I'm assuming, / Stussy. And then the official colorway on these is black, white, bright cactus. And you've got a price on these of 170 US dollars. Now the code on the bottom, the item code that you want to look out for if you're copying a pair of these for yourself is CJ9918001. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the shoe itself. And we're gonna start off with materials, and we're gonna talk about the upper here first. So the upper is this one-piece construction. You've got this perforated kind of padded mesh. I really like this material. It's really lightweight. Seems pretty breathable. Obviously, I haven't worn these for any considerable amount of time, so I can't say for sure, but it does seem to be pretty breathable, pretty comfortable. So I like the material used here. And then on the ankle, you've got this kind of glossy rubber heel cup. This does pretty well as far as I can tell for support and stability. and you've got a Nike logo right there on the back as well. Now, I'm not too sure why they didn't go with a Nike Air logo there, since this shoe obviously utilizes Nike Air, but I did think that was interesting that they kind of just went with a regular Nike logo there. Now, on each side of this perforated mesh upper, you do have Nike swooshes, and these seem to be fused onto the mesh, not just screen printed, so they should last quite a while. Up here on the tongue area, or where you normally would have a tongue, you do have your classic Stussy logo embroidered. And speaking of embroidery, you've also got a Nike swoosh embroidered down on the toe as well. Now, while we're down here looking at the toe, you'll notice on the very end of the toe, you've got this kind of like shiny material. This is like a nylon as far as I can tell. And if you're a 90s kid, you probably remember those like holographic images that you would, like, you could scratch your fingernail across it, you could feel the ridges, but when you would move it side to side, the image would change. That's what this material reminds me of. I don't really know how else to kind of describe it or explain it than that. And you'll also notice you've got all these little silver dots on the toe as well. Those are all 3M, so you do have some reflective material on these. And then of course, the standout feature of this upper is this crazy rubber netting that goes all the way across the upper. It's obviously like up kind of like toward the midfoot, but then it even curves down onto the toe to give that toe box a little bit more support and some more structure in there as well. But the best part, in my opinion, of any Spiridon is how you've got this netting that goes like across this channel in the ankle area. I don't know why I like this so much, but I think it just makes it look so athletic. It kind of reminds me of like tendon being stretched across, like, you know, your joints or something like that on your bones. That's kind of the only thing that it reminds me of, but I really, really like that feature. And then of course, in the ankle area, you've got this super, super loud, bright cactus color. This is similar to Volt, but it leans a little bit more toward green than the yellow that Volt kind of has in there. So if you're familiar with Volt, it's very, very similar to that, but again, just a little bit more green. Now, where things get really interesting, in my opinion, on this shoe is as we move on to the midsole. So there's two main materials or technologies used here. The first one is the foam that they used here. So a lot of Nikes have Phylon. This has Phylite. So very, very similar to Phylon. It's just substantially lighter. You really can tell the difference. And then the best part of any Spiridon is back here on the heel, you have this huge exposed Zoom airbag. Zoom Air is my favorite air technology. I just love how you can see it work. Like when you compress it, you see all those little fibers kind of contract and then expand when you let it go. It's just, to me, the best air technology that Nike has. And I just love how much of the airbag you can see here. You can see all the way around it. It's literally like they just put an airbag there and just kind of like slapped a little piece on the bottom. And then they've got this cage here just to hold the two pieces together. So I really, really love the way that that looks. That's the best part of the Air Spiridon, in my opinion. So that's gonna take us to the outsole. I actually think the outsole on these is pretty interesting as well. You've got this really bold black and white color scheme, and they were able to work one more Stussy logo on the heel, so I like that. You've got this TPU shank plate in the center here just to give you a little bit better rigidity. And then up toward the toe, you'll notice this black and white pattern. This is the same pattern that I mentioned a little bit earlier that was on the paper on the inside of the box. I think it's pretty interesting that they're referencing this same subtle pattern twice in one kind of like two different places on the shoe. So there must be some significance to it. And the best I can do is it does look a little bit like palm trees. And like I said earlier, this is a mashup between the Spiridon and the Kukini. So the Kukini, that's actually a Hawaiian word. And from the research that I was able to dig up, it looks like Kukini were warriors in the Hawaiian kind of like ancient times, and they were known for their speed. That was their big thing, as they were super fast. I don't really see a lot of people running in these. They don't really strike me as like a super functional running shoe, but maybe when the Kukini first came out, that's what they were intending it for. I'm assuming that's probably what it was. So that's the only significance I can think of. Other than that, I'm stumped. Maybe let me know down in the comments if you have a better idea of what the significance is there. And then up on the toe, you've got one more Nike swoosh. Now let's go ahead and talk about sizing on these. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not keeping these, and I said there were a couple reasons why I'm not keeping them. Sizing is actually one of them. I went with my true to size on these, and there's just a little bit too much room in the toe in my opinion. I kind of feel like going half size down is probably the way to go on these. The only thing though is that the toe area on these kind of like comes to a point a little bit. So I don't know, if you went half size down, maybe your toes end up getting pinched. I'm not too sure. If you have an opportunity to try them on before you buy them, definitely do that to try and find the right size. I think for most people, I would advise going half size down. If you've got wide feet, maybe at that point go true to size, and I think you'll be okay. Now, obviously, I can't really tell you guys how comfortable these are just because I haven't really worn them at all, But I will say, based on the fact that these have Zoom Air in the heel, this is a Phyllite foam midsole, you've got this light breathable upper, these are probably going to be very comfortable. I can't really see any part of these being uncomfortable at all. So if you're worried about comfort, I think you're going to be okay on these. Now, the other reason why I'm going to be selling these is just because I don't like the shape on my feet. Maybe it's because I have big feet. Maybe for you smaller feet people out there, maybe these will look a little bit better. But in my opinion, these just look super, super weird on my feet. So between that and being a little bit too big, I am going to be selling these. But I do want to mention that the quality control on these is not great. And I think part of that is just that we're seeing quite a few products that I think were probably supposed to be sold quite a bit earlier on in the year that have been pushed back because of coronavirus. The production date on these is November 22nd, 2019. So most of the time they're not waiting, 7-8 months to release shoes. It's usually like 3 or 4 months is the window for most shoes. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe these were scheduled to be dropped in July the whole time. But just judging by the fact that these came or were made in November, that tells me they were probably supposed to be released quite a bit earlier. And since these have been sitting for a while, they just were like really dusty. There's like random, kind of small dirt spots on the midsole. So I don't think I'm gonna have a really good shot selling these on GOAT. If you've ever sold shoes on GOAT, like you have one piece of lint on the shoe and they're telling you that you've worn them and you gotta either consign them or have them send them back. It's a whole headache. So that's actually one of the reasons why I like GOAT a little bit better. I feel like they're a little bit more stingy with the shoes that they let get through their legit check system. But anyway, this is probably not going to be a shoe I can sell on GOAT. So I'm going to do something that I haven't really done yet. But if there's somebody watching this video right now who wants to cop these, I'm looking to just get what I spent on them. I'm not trying to crack anybody over the skull with some crazy retail or anything like that, or resale, I should say. So if you want a pair of these, you just want them for, pretty much retail plus shipping, hit me up. You can always hit me up on Instagram. My email's listed on the About page on YouTube. However you want to contact me, just hit me up and let me know. You have to be PayPal ready though, and you have to be in the United States. Other than that, shipping just kind of becomes a pain in the butt. So make sure to hit me up if you want these. I'm going to leave that offer up for a couple weeks. If I don't hear back from anybody, then I'll probably just end up selling them on StockX, or maybe I'll try my luck on GOAT. But yeah, if you're out there, you don't have a pair, you missed out on the drop, let me know. I can definitely hook you up. Now, if you don't wear a size 12, go ahead and check the description below if you want to cop these. I'm going to put a couple links down there as well. That way you guys can cop these for resale. Right now, resale's not too crazy last time I checked. So it really shouldn't be too bad if you missed out on these and you want a pair. All right, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop me a like on the video. I would really, really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. That way you're notified when I post new videos, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.